Alright, so this here is my Decidueye Sableye deck that I've been working on. It's kind of just a theory where you lock the opponent down from all of their supporters and you use Decidueye's ability to put damage counters on the board. That's kind of my general thought going into this, and I drafted up the list, didn't really do anything with it, but I figure we'll put it in a game, see how it does, and if you can't already tell, this is going to be post commentary. So we will be narrating the plays as we can. And the two games that I have played with this deck, the first one being completely accidental, not wanted, I haven't been able to find an optimized way to run it yet, but I will figure out all those things as I play the deck. And the main thing that I see that I need with this deck is I need to be able to get down Rowlet quickly. So I'm looking at my hand and I'm looking for some things I can do. I can play the nest ball, I can put a Sableye down. So we're basically just looking through our deck here, making sure what we have in our deck is what we need. We only play one Tapu Lele, so we want to make sure it's there. We only play one Bridget, we want to make sure it's there. Both of them are there, so it gives me something to do with Ultra Ball. And we are debating, I believe at this point, whether or not we want to play the Ultra Ball for the Tapu Lele, because we have things in our hand we don't really want to discard. So we want to maybe see if we can wait one draw, get something else that we don't mind discarding. I was deciding whether or not I want to play the Guzma, but I was like, you know what, getting the Rowlet down is going to be extremely helpful. So we discard a Guzma and a Max Potion. Not what we want to do, but it'll work out. So we grab the Tapu Lele so we can grab the Bridget. And I believe we put down two Rowlet because we only have 3 Decidueye. So if our active Rowlet doesn't get knocked out, then we should be fine. And we grab another Sableye because we kind of want to have those down. I'm not sure what counts that I want on Sableye. I believe there are 4 Sableye in the deck because we ideally want to start with them so we can not waste resources moving into something else. So I'm deciding whether or not I want the 4th Rowlet or the other Sableye. But I see there's only 3 Decidueye in the deck, so we just decided to go with this. We put the Rainbow Energy down just to have energy on the board, and we will pass our turn. So the good thing here is that we do have another draw card we can play after the Bridget for the next turn, which is going to allow us to get something. So he does the same thing, Tapu Lele for Bridget, and then go from there. I'm not sure how I feel about Tapu Lele in this deck. Clearly, it's a really good card, but I want to find other ways of speeding the deck up that don't require Tapu Lele. Because at the end of the day, I kind of want this to be a good budget deck. You know, Decidueye is a pretty cheap card. Man, we don't really want to put, you know, a $40 card in a deck if we don't have to. Because if somebody else wants to play this deck, then they will be successful with it. Also looking at other things, I might want to put in a Rangaroo or find a way to fit in Octillery. But Octillery is another 4 spaces that I would have to put into the deck. So I would want to figure out if we're not using Tapu Lele, then I want to play more supporters. And by more supporters, I mean like run 3 or 4 Bridget. So that way we have an ideal chance to get in our opening hand. So we have a Guzma here off the top. Trying to decide what we want to do because we don't want the beacon to set my opponent up. So we lock it in the active spot. We can do something, but that doesn't do anything for us because if he has an energy, then he can't really... I can't lock him because it retreats for free. So we got to retreat the Rowlet. I mean, we have Float Stone in the deck, but we didn't get it. But we do have a Rare Candy, Decidueye, which is going to allow us to actually start doing our strategy, but we don't really get much of anything at all. So we're just going to put damage on these Piplups here so we can start setting them up for knockouts. And the other reason why I don't want to have something like a Tapu Lele sitting on the bench is simply because we also play the Espeon EX, and we have no bench space right now, and we have no way to increase our bench space. We don't have Acerola in the deck or a way to pick up a Pokemon, so that Tapu Lele is there. So ideally, we want to find a way to make use of our bench space, so we need to put an Espeon down, then we can. But we don't have to have the Espeon down right now, simply because if something gets knocked out, and Sableye only has, what, 80 HP? I believe it's only 80 HP. It's 70 or 80 HP. Actually, it might be 60. It looks like 60. But it doesn't have enough HP, and if it gets knocked out, then we simply put the Espeon down and get the damage. But the whole goal is to lock the opponent down hard enough so we can spread damage and then devolve things with Espeon as it should come up. So we do get an Ultra Ball off the top, but our hand is 1 card short. If we had 5 cards, we could have Rare Candied for, or we could have Ultra Ball for Decidueye, Rare Candy, and get that in a plate and play an end. Because we basically need 1 other card to discard, and we just don't have it. So I'm looking, but it's like, I can do that. I could have Ultra Balled for a Dartrix just to have it in play. That might have been the best thing to do in hindsight. But I was like, maybe we can get something else here. We can find a way to do something, and we end our hand and we get absolutely nothing. And that's going to be this game actually for the next couple of turns. Actually, we are basically putting down 20 damage on something and preventing our opponent from playing supporters. As you see, just our opponent not being able to play supporters is going to be super huge. But we don't actually have much else we can work with, simply because, I mean, this is going to be what's happening. He did 210 damage to our Sableye. This is a lot of damage. So I'm even debating on if we even need the Fighting Fury belts in the deck. If we don't, we'll take them out, find something else to test with. But we do Guzma, and that's going to get our Sableye in active spot, and we're going to lock out that artillery. Of course, they play Float Stone in the deck. Every deck plays Float Stone. But, we're like, we need some time to get something going here. So we will put our 20 damage, because that's all we can do, and we will Limitation to prevent from playing a supporter next turn. And preventing your opponent from playing a supporter is huge. They can't play End, they can't play Guzma, they can't do a lot of things. And since our opponent has artillery in his deck, our supporter lock isn't that strong, because he can simply draw cards. And the whole point of supporter locking the opponent so they can't draw cards. So he has ways to draw into things like Float Stones. But there are times where that won't always happen, and he will just dead draw for a little bit. And that's what we're hoping for, because we want to slow the game down. And it's not like we want to slow the game down because that's what the deck does. We really just want to slow the game down so we have more turns to draw into something. Because that end just completely gave us a dead hand. So he abyssals for 3 cards, which is what I see here. That is not going to be very useful to us. But we are going to continue trucking along here and trying to do something. At the end of the day, Decidueye is really big. It's got 240 HP. And if we need to put it in the active spot to take a hit, we can do that. So we put our 20 damage down. We're going to Limitation. He has an energy on the artillery, so he's going to be able to retreat it. So the other thing that's going to be doing me some good here is running more things. So we rip a Decidueye off the top, which is going to be nice, because now we're going to be doing 40 damage every turn and supporter locking our opponent. So we're going to start putting damage on... Okay, we put it on that Prinplup there. I think we split it up between that and this Empoleon, because we want to have some damage somewhere. So now if we want to knock out that Prinplup, we can next turn with 40 damage, and we lock him again. So his hand is clearly full of supporters, and he does nothing, just draw passes. So we get our Float Stone. We decide to keep it in our hand, because if he ends us, or we end ourselves, if something happens and he has a way to discard it, we don't want to lose it. We don't have to play it right now, so we simply don't play it. So we have a Rare Candy in our hand that's pretty dead, which sucks. So we do grab a energy here. I'm not sure what I want to do with it. I debated putting it on the Dartrix to do 20 damage somewhere. I debated putting it on the top with Lily just to set that up to be ready to attack, and that wouldn't have been a bad place for it. But we have the Rescue Stretcher in our hand, so if we need to be able to get a Sableye back, we can. But at some point, we're going to have to give up the supporter lock which is what our opponent is going to want to do. So we got the Abyssal for 2. Our opponent is just getting everything up, and he's drawing through a lot of his cards. He gets the energy to be able to retreat, so he does that. He retreats into the Empoleon, and this is just not going to be good for us. He knocks our Sableye out. So we put the Decidueye out because it can take a hit. It's got 240 HP, and I believe at one point during the game he only did 100 or 210 to us. That's with the choice band, and if we don't put anything else down, we don't have to worry about being knocked out in one hit. I'm not sure. I played a Rescue Stretcher this turn to grab the Sableye. So we're going to just put damage on the active because we're going to have to start doing so. We're going to have to start getting damage on it so we can knock this guy out because it's super big. So I'm looking at my damage. He has 60 HP left, so we check that. So that's 2 Feather Arrows and the Sharp Quill Blade from Dartrix for 20, which will knock it out. So he plays a Sycamore, which is something he's been wanting to play the entire game, I'm sure. And I'm just looking at it, checking his supporters, seeing everything he has left. There's only 1 Guzma in there, so I know there's potential 2 or 3 still live in the game somewhere. He plays the Aqua Patch, which is going to get him more energy down. And at this point, I'm trying to figure out how do I win, because my draws have been completely dead ever since I played that in. It just completely wrecked my hand, and I don't even know what to say about that. Like, this is how my draws have been going. No matter what deck I play, I just don't get anything. You play 4 Sycamore, 3 N, 4 Cynthia. You play your Bridgets, you play your Guzmas, and you just don't see any of them the entire game. And it just goes to show you how powerful Pokemon-based draw is, because it's something else to supplement you. Like if I had Remoraid down in Octillery, I would be much better off because, I mean, look at my hand. I got 2 rare candies, can't play any of them right now. I got a Max Potion, which will get some use. Like, I have things in my hand that I can't do anything with, and it's super frustrating. And we finally get a supporter off the top, so we are going to play our Max Potion to heal. I'm pretty sure we play the Pokemon Stretcher or the Rescue Stretcher so we can do something. So we play the Flow Song. So we're basically just playing everything down because we're like, yes, we got a supporter. Don't want it to be N because N doesn't hurt our opponent. They got 2 Octillery down. But we got some things here we can do. So we just drop everything, play the N, and hopefully we get something that we can really use. And of course we don't. I'm like, okay, this is getting old because there are Sycamore in the deck, and there are that other card. What's her name? Cynthia. Those are in the deck too, and we just aren't getting them. So I'm looking through my deck here actually to see what's in my deck. I'm like, I have to have something, right? But we just go ahead, grab the Decidueye just so we can knock out this active here. Try to get something, but I noticed that there wasn't Espeon EX in the deck, which is what I was looking for, so that was prized. And had that not been prized, I would have placed my damage somewhere else. But I have to use all my Feather Arrows to knock out this Empoleon, as opposed to just grabbing the Espeon, putting it down. I don't think I would be able to attach to it anyway, simply because I attached to the Sableye this turn. But I noticed I don't have the Espeon, and that's a problem. But we get it right off the prizes, which is super nice. We don't actually play it. We don't have a reason to. We can't do much of anything. I'm debating on whether or not I want to let the Decidueye take a hit or put out the Sableye to lock the supporters. I noticed my opponent only has 12 cards in their hand, so locking them out of supporters might not be necessarily good for me, simply because if he plays an N, then, or he might play an N, which refreshes my hand, which is what I want. So we choose not to play the supporter to lock them out of the turn. But I believe it doesn't matter anyway because my opponent plays the Guzma just so they can knock out the Sableye. Because the Sableye has been annoying. My opponent realizes that if they can't play supporters, then they can't play their Guzmas to essentially swap around my board, which is super annoying. And there comes down the Guzma. It's a really nice looking card in this game. Unity does some very impressive things, but he Guzma's out my Sableye and knocks it out. Nothing I can really do about that. So out comes the Decidueye once again. We get a energy. So we decide, maybe we can lock something down, get some damage on this Empoleon. We got the Espeon, we got the energy. We should be fine. As long as we don't play it down, then we don't have to risk losing it unnecessarily. And the best thing about this here is we got 60, we've got our Espeon, we've got our energy, we've got a Guzma that we can potentially stall him with. It would have been really nice to have that Sableye down, because I could have did a Guzma into a limitation, which means he would have had to have the Float Stone or hard retreat this Octillery again. Not that it's been that bad for my opponent, simply because he also plays the Aqua Patch, so he can get those cards back. So we just leave the Decidueye in the active spot and hope that our opponent doesn't have a Guzma, because if he does, he knocks out the Lele, and that's what he does. He Guzmas out the Lele, and he knocks it out. And I'm like, okay, I gotta do something here, because I've only had a handful of turns of draw support, and it has not been good to us once. It's like after we played that first and it just wrecked us so hard. So I'm trying to decide, okay, what do I want to do here? What needs to happen? So we bring up our Decidueye because it has a Float Stone. We draw a rare candy, which we don't need, which is annoying. So we have to put 20 on this active because the Piplup has 70 HP, which is annoying. It's not 60. Otherwise, I would have been able to knock out both of these Primplups this turn, which is why you want to have the 4th Decidueye. But now is the time for the Espeon EX. We don't have a choice. We got to get rid of this Empoleon. Our opponent showed us that he didn't have a way to get a Primplup or Empoleon down. And we are limiting our bench here. So hopefully we got something happens here. And we do the Miraculous Shine, which devolves the Primplup, knocks it out, and devolves both of his Octillery. So we are not looking necessarily that bad, but our opponent's hand is huge. And we have to be able to get something here. When we're looking through his discard, and we see he has 3 Guzma, so there's a possible 1 floating. He plays the Octillery, and you know how players in this game are. Whenever they have the win, they like to slow roll you before they play everything. So he's just playing everything here, and I'm like, oh my goodness, does he have the win? Does he have the Float Stone, Rare Candy, Empoleon, Choice Band? Well, he already has a Choice Band, so he drops the Tapu Lele here, and I'm like, yeah, he's got the game. There's nothing that I can do here. So we see him grab a N out of the deck, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's discard fodder because he's looking for something. I don't know. But there's the Float Stone coming down. I'm like, oh my goodness, he slow rolled me. And he plays the end. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe not. We still don't get anything off the end. So I'm definitely going to go back and revisit exactly what went wrong with this deck. Maybe I don't need the Fighting Fury belts. I don't think I need the Fighting Fury belts, so I might take them out. But we're looking through our discard pile to see what our opponent has. He can't play a Guzma anymore, not that he needs it. All he needs is Rare Candy and Empoleon, and he forfeits. So that is actually the game there. And this is a deck that I definitely want to go back and test again. So I hope you all enjoyed that, and I will see you all in the next one.